Today, we will focus mainly on a very important area. Reproductive health is very wide, and basically is the whole issue of all the organs that deal with the reproductive health in your whole lifetime, from conception to death, isn't it? But that's not where we are going to go today. I think today, the focus, according to the questions that actually come to iZola, is on puberty, how to navigate process of transiting from a child to an adult. And I have had most of the answers as people are talking here. The most important thing is we know some of us have gone through very difficult adolescent life. But ideally, we should know it is the same thing that goes through a neurodivergent child. My colleague here, Doreen, has just said, these people have the same emotions that you and me have. I always feel bad when I say because I always ask ourselves, maybe we are the ones who do not understand. Eh? You get it? And we want to bring them to our side, but we don't want to go to their side. So they have emotions. We all are human beings, and we have similar emotions. As far as it is physiology and metabolism and growth of reproductive health, the processes are the same. Now, how to handle that, how to jump that season. Somebody said here, what happens to children, the boys, when they get to 10 years? We all had, isn't it? Why does that happen? The issue of puberty does not start at 10 years age. It starts several years before. And actually, whoever questioned was what happens at 8 years before you changed it to 10 years. Ideally, in most circumstances, the hormones started getting produced around 8 years. And it is a process you walk with, and we know this person has gone through the process of that change. When they either get their menstruation, we call it menarche, isn't it? Or when they get the issue of spermarche, isn't it? That is when we actually see, as far as the biological development and maturation is concerned, it has happened and it has completed its journey. But that is not the end of issues, isn't it? Because this will happen at 14 and 16 years. Sawa. Now, we all know how we walk through with our neurotypical young adult or youth. The same thing will happen to children who have neurodivergent conditions. And now, their issue may be a little bit more complicated. Because, especially when you talk about sensory issues, let's start there. And we all know there are a lot of sensory issues that happen during this time. For example, take a young girl. Me, when we grew up, the first thing that we realized, and then there are people who come touching me. When you are growing, there was nothing like sexual abuse. If you are a girl, you are at liberty, people could keep, you meet and they are touching you. And by the way, those of us somebody said who are privileged to grow in the rural areas. Because of that sensation, in my community, we used to go to the river. There were some insects that used to be in the river, and we would pick it. Oh, you remember that? So why? Now when you look, it's because something is happening. That is sensation, particularly on the nib. Now, the other thing is, these things, at particular times, they get heavy, sensitive, and sometimes even painful. What do you think happens to that child who cannot communicate to you? Now, I think what I need to do, because all those things happen, what I have tried, you may ask me what did I do, but I'll tell you later. But what needs to be done now, she has talked, and we have talked, you as the primary caregiver. And I think this you have to be left to the parents. You have to, and especially depending on the level of autism, if it's particular, maybe you can work with all of them. But I think if this is somebody who can get some information, you have to start working with them very early. And you continue in your way, telling them about what is life. First of all, I'm talking about girls, because the two areas are very different. You have to keep telling, and even maybe you keep telling them, my little girl, one day you will have breasts. So that when they start coming, she doesn't wonder what is happening. It will take time for them to understand. But you have to work with them from long before for them to come and accept. And even the hairs that grow and the sensations and all that. And I don't know, because I didn't do it, but I suppose if I were to do it now, I would actually start showing my daughter pads long before. I would. So these are processes you have got to start long before. Just like the way we start showing them how to feed, how to go to the toilet, and one day they will achieve, we have to start this. So that time when it comes, and now it is real, they actually somehow, they will actually understand those who are in that situation. So the secret to start with is, one, to start early. Don't wait for late until that day. Point two, and then you walk with them. You walk with them. And point two is, when menstruation starts, particularly, you have to keep a schedule. Me, when we were growing up, because I don't know what happened, the current people, they must keep a diary. We didn't keep any diary. We knew exactly when the periods were going to come. But now these days I hear they don't write, they cannot remember. I don't know what happened. I don't know anyway. I don't know what happened. But now, so it will sound funny when I tell you have to keep a timetable, because I'll say that because we never used to keep timetable. But for this particular one, I think you have to keep the dates, so that, and everybody must know, because majority of these children definitely will have two reactions. Around ovulation, and then just before menstruation. And they will behave, so you must be ready for that. Now, what do you do? Depending on the severity, there is first of all, I think you can do some kind of massage. The feeding of this child, you must make sure, I don't want to go into that, but let me just say a properly balanced diet, because some of the pains we get during menses are all related to poor nutrition, especially some micronutrients. I don't want to go into that, but please, feeding, especially with the legumes, because they have a lot, nuts. We have a lot of what we require to do. But I should not go there because everybody has their own system. But balanced diet is critical. And then you must actually know the level of bleeding of that child so that the child does not really bleed too much and then you are going into problems without realizing. So, again, it is optional depending on who you are and you have consulted your gynecologist. Is the level of pain difficult that you have got to give some medication? So you move on, and you must, of course, like we said, you have to train them to change the pads and they actually get used and they feel very uncomfortable when it gets full. For me, I think the easiest thing was, again, schedules. Every so many hours, at the beginning, I would have it changed to make sure that she doesn't, selfishness, she doesn't mess up. But even if it is not the issue of messing up, we all know what you feel when you have a pad that is full. It's very uncomfortable. So you want to change it before it gets too full. Now, the other aspect is the emotions and the feelings that go with it. These people go through the same, but they do not. Yes. First of all, they are not able to react like we expect because their social communication is blah blah. If anything, let me use the wrong word. It is like they're hostile at that season. But you have to ask yourself why. And sometimes this is when you, as a parent, as the caregiver, you have to be available and you actually develop some, they are struggling to be identified, to be recognized. This is when you actually go and you have to create time to be with them so that they feel somebody cares. Because I think, for lack of a better word, that's what they are looking for. We all know what we feel at that age. That is when most girls, I'm still talking about girls, they're annoyed with their moms. Am I right? She doesn't care. She's so mean. Isn't it? So you can imagine this when what she feels. You have to be available for them. Because their communication is, whichever way you communicate, and I'm not in any way downgrading what Doreen is saying, you have to have that extra concern and connection. Remember, 50% of that child is you. So when you get closer, there is some degree of communication and they feel good. Depending on the level, and I have seen somebody, one child told the auntie, Mom has refused me to go and see my friend. It was a boyfriend. Not a boyfriend, it was a man friend. Now, and she is actually reporting innocently, and you don't know how to react. I don't know. You have to think whether you... And this boy is neurotypical boy, or it could even be... We all know the stories of Jacaranda. It did not Jacaranda, sorry. It did not happen by a carelessness. It is because those children, maybe it has changed, those children who used to go there had those feelings, isn't it? And they don't know their limits. We have a lot of work to do around there. And one is training. And telling them is one thing that is kind of yours, the breast, the private parts, nobody should keep touching. it is, I don't want to put, what are they called? Blocks, but I know it is a challenge.